Yo, what's up, Spill Basketball family? And this is your host, Azlan Williams. And today we are talking about the 2025 WNBA playoffs that are getting ready to start here soon. All right. Now, tonight is the last night for the regular season, and we have a couple games. A couple of these games will decide seeding. So we'll see what happens. I know that the Aces do play tonight. I know also the Valkyries do play tonight. So we're going to go over a couple of the standings. We're going to go over the potential rewards that can happen this season for the players of the W. All right, we're going to talk about that tonight. But before we get started, go ahead and subscribe to the Spell Basketball Show. Hit that like button right there. Hit the subscribe, the bell, comment, whatever it is for the Spell Basketball Show. I appreciate all the love, all the support that you all have been showing me. I don't know if y'all have ever had this drink before, but the C2O coconut water is very good. I love it. Tastes very good. All right, y'all go support them. All right. Anyways, let's hop into it tonight. So we're talking about the WNBA playoffs this year, and it has been a great season, a season of just a lot happening. I know Caitlin Clark, which is one of the reasons a lot of people are watching the WNBA, was hurt pretty much all year. She only played a few games this year. So unfortunate for her, she will not be back, and she will not be playing in the playoffs this season. So we wish speedy recovery for Caitlin Clark. But the Indiana Fever, let's talk about them real quick. They have just been riddled with injuries. We know Caitlin Clark was down pretty much the whole season. We also saw Ari McDonald go down. We saw Sydney Colson go down. And also Sophie Cunningham, who was a key part of the success for the Indiana Fever this year. But Kelsey Mitchell, if she's not on all WNBA first team this year, I don't know what to say. She has been carrying that team on her back. Also, should be in talks for MVP, although we have the front runners with Nafisa Collier and Asia Wilson. There's no reason why Kelsey Mitchell should not be part of that conversation. If I'm not mistaken, Kelsey Mitchell is leading the league this year with the total points scored. So, Kelsey Mitchell, shout out to you. You are her. You are a baller. So, again, been carrying that Indiana Fever team all year long. The Seattle Storm just clinched the other day, that final 8th spot. So, again, that's been a team that's been good all year long, but has just lost so many close games when it's come down to the stretch. And so, but again, another team that I think can potentially give Minnesota, a run for their money. Now, I don't know if they'll win that series, but I do believe they will make it competitive. And so I know we saw a game about a week or two ago between the Storm and the Lynx, and both fully healthy teams, and the Storm beat the Lynx pretty handily. And so that's one of those matchups where it can get chippy, especially after all that stuff that happened with Skylar Diggins, talking stuff to the bench. That series can get very chippy. That's actually one of the series I'm most excited to watch going into these playoffs. Granted that it is going to be the Lynx and the Storm in that series. So let's just go over the standings as it is right now before the games tonight. So we have the Minnesota Lynx at number 1, who have a record of 33-10, could potentially go 34-10 tonight. The Atlanta Dream, who are at that 2 spot, they are tied with the Las Vegas Aces. The Atlanta Dream have 30 wins and 14 losses. At number 3, the Las Vegas Aces, 29-14, also on that 15-game win streak right now. Balling, the Las Vegas Aces are doing. They are 29-14, but I believe if they win tonight, that they will jump to that number 2 seed, and so that can shake up things in the seeding process a little bit as well. At number 4, we have the Phoenix Mercury, who have had a great year, with the leadership of Alyssa Thomas, who's also an MVP candidate or in the MVP talks, who has just been racking up triple doubles, all year long. She has led that Mercury team to a high seed in these playoffs, and they have a record of 27-16. Now, right behind them are the reigning champs, the New York Liberty, who have a record of 26-17. They've been kind of up and down with a few injuries. I know Jonquel Jones started the season off not healthy, but came back, and when she came back, she made a great impact. But then Breanna Stewart went down, so they're both back, and I think they are at full strength now. But that's another team that you can't count out the champs. And so we'll see how that goes for the champs, the New York Liberty. At number 6 right now, we have the Indiana Fever, who have a record of 24-20. They, again, being led by Kelsey Mitchell, have had major injuries all year long, but the addition of Odyssey Sims has really boosted their production down the stretch in this end of the season. And so that's been a huge addition, along with, again, Kelsey Mitchell, Aaliyah Boston, Natasha Howard. And so, again, Fever are a tough team. So they're scrappy, they're resilient. And so, as of right now, if it was today, at the end of the day, it would be a Fever and Aces matchup. And so look out for that matchup as well. And we'll talk about the potential matchups here shortly. At number 7, the first-year team, the Golden State Valkyries, who have a record of 23-20. They also do have a game tonight. And so we will see how that fares out. I do believe that if the Valkyries do win tonight, that they will move into that 6th seed, and the Fever will drop down to the 7th seed. And then at number 8, the clinching last team, the Seattle Storm. Again, great team, resilient, tough team, with Nneka Ogwumike, Skylar Diggins, Gabby Williams, Erica Wheeler. They are a really good team. They have all the pieces. It's just when it's come down to the final moments in games, when the games have been close, they have just had trouble finishing these games out toward the end of the games. But again, a team that could potentially give that number 1 seed Minnesota Lynx a very tough first round. All right. And now just remember, before we get into it even further, the format of this year is a little bit different. So they will have the 5-game format for the first 3 rounds, but in the finals it is a 7-game format this year. So best 3 out of 5 for the first few rounds, and then the finals will have a 7-game series, which I thought they should have had that last year, because that series last year between the Lynx and the Liberty was just amazing. So we'll see how that fares out. I'm excited to see what happens. But if we were to do the matchups as of right now before the games tonight, we'd have the Minnesota Lynx versus Seattle Storm. We'd have the Atlanta Dream versus the Golden State Valkyries. Then we'd have the Las Vegas Aces versus the Indiana Fever. And then we would have the New York Liberty versus the Phoenix Mercury. And so at this moment, I think the ones that are set in stone as far as who will be playing against each other will be the Lynx and the Storm, and then the Mercury and the Liberty, okay? Because 2 and 3 between the Dream and the Aces is still up for grabs tonight. Granted that the Aces do win tonight, they will jump to that number 2 seed. And then also the Fever and the Valkyries. If the Valkyries happen to win, and I believe they play the Lynx tonight, so I don't know if the Lynx are going to rest their starters and let the bench play. But if the Valkyries do win tonight, I do believe they will move into that 6th spot, and the Indiana Fever will drop down to that 7th spot. So let's just talk about the already solidified matchups, the Mercury and the Liberty. Now the Mercury, again, 27-16 on the year. The Liberty, 26-17, and that's going to be a very interesting matchup, I believe, with the different styles that they have. You have Inescu, you have Stewart, you have Jonquil Jones, you have those ladies over there who, again, are champions. They won the championship last year. So, of course, they're going to want to repeat and come out and play the way that they know how to play. It's been kind of up and down. Again, injuries. They have not really gotten into rhythm as far as a whole healthy team throughout the year, but they are finally healthy going into these playoffs. The Mercury, who's a team, they can come at you many different ways. Again, you have Alyssa Thomas leading the head out there in Phoenix, but you also have Satu Sabali, who has had a decent year this year, all-star selection this year. You have players over there. Joanna Bonner came over there from the Fever after that didn't work out in Indiana. But the Mercury, Kalia Copper, over there, who's a Swiss Army knife when it comes down to, scoring. She's a great penetrator. She can get to the hole. She can knock down the shot. So that matchup in particular, I believe we'll see a very interesting matchup between the Mercury and the Liberty in that series, just because there's so many different moving pieces on both teams that can really impact the game in a positive way. So that's going to be one of those series where I can't call that one. I don't know who's going to actually win that series due to, again, the inconsistency of the Liberty all year long with health, but also just the camaraderie that the Phoenix Mercury have put together, especially after kind of rebuilding, losing Brittany Griner to Atlanta, also Diana Taurasi, retiring. So, they just have a whole new look in Phoenix. But what they have done, signing Alyssa Thomas, signing Satu Sabali, what they have done in Phoenix has been nothing short of great. And I'm excited to see that series. Now, the other series that's solidified at this moment, the Seattle Storm versus the number one seed Minnesota Lynx with MVP candidate Nafisa Collier. That series, again, I think can produce more of a fight than what the seedings actually show. Again, the Lynx have been dominant all year long, even with the injuries that they've had. Kayla McBride came in a little bit late at the beginning of the season due to her contractual things overseas, playing ball overseas. Nafisa Collier out for a couple weeks with that ankle injury that she had. So they still really didn't lose a beat. So again, one of the best teams. They all know each other. They all play well with each other. Courtney Williams, Kayla McBride, Nafisa Collier, Alana Smith, the addition of Dejanay Carrington, let's not forget about that, who's a great defensive player, but also can score the ball very well. So, that, again, they are my favorites to win this year. But the Aces, again, have won 15 games in a row. They show why they are a championship contending team. A'ja Wilson is showing why she is an MVP candidate. And honestly, would not be surprised if she wins her fourth MVP this year. She has been playing that well in the second half of the season. Again, with Nafisa Collier going down with that ankle injury, it has not, I don't want to say it hasn't helped her case, but man, A'ja has been playing extremely well. And so, right now I'm going to talk about the potential awards. And, for MVP, again, between A'ja Wilson, I believe is between A'ja Wilson and Nafisa Collier. Now, A'ja Wilson throughout this whole entire year has been averaging 23.4 points a game and 9.9 rebounds. Again, so you look at that, you look at the run that the Aces have been on over these past couple months, then you look at what Fee did at the beginning of the year up to the point of her injury. And so Nafisa Collier this year has been averaging 23 points a game and 7.4 rebounds. So statistically, A'ja Wilson has surpassed Nafisa Collier. But Nafisa Collier has helped her team to get that number one seed. But you also have to think, if the Aces had really brought their camaraderie together at the beginning of the year, would the roles have switched? Would we be seeing the Las Vegas Aces being in that number one seed? For the first half of the year, we were like, I don't know what the Aces are going to do, And if you look at outside of this 15-game win, if they had not gone on that 15-in-a-row streak, they might still be on the bottom half of the spectrum. So, again, we look at what the Aces are doing. I know they had some issues with Jewel Lloyd being in the starting lineup. It just seemed like the ball needed too many hands at one time. I mean, you have Jackie Young, you have A'ja Wilson, you have Chelsea Gray, and you had Jewel Lloyd all in the same lineup at the same time. So there's not enough hands for one ball when it comes, or there's not enough balls for that many hands when you talk about the impact that all of those ladies have on the game. And so, Becky Hammond, which I think she is an amazing coach, decided to bring Jewel Lloyd off the bench, which I thought was the game changer in the Aces' success in this second half of the season. Jewel Lloyd is able to control that second unit. I mean, you have Jewel Lloyd, who's been one of the top scorers in the game for several years. So, bringing her onto a team where, again, multiple hands need the ball, she had to kind of take a different role that she wasn't used to. So Becky Hammond, being the great coach that she is, bringing her off the bench, giving her more of a scoring responsibility off the bench to do what she does and what she's used to, again, was a great coaching change, and it shows the genius of Becky Hammond. And so, but potential MVP awards, again, A'ja Wilson and Nafisa Collier. All year long, even the beginning of last year, I kept saying I thought Nafisa Collier was going to win MVP. And she still does deserve to win MVP. But does all of the production that she created in the first half of the season have enough to top A'ja Wilson, and not only the production that she's been giving in this second half of the season, but also the route that they have taken with this 15-game win streak? It is amazing. It is something, that is going toward WNBA history. So, does the production early on from Nafisa Collier give her the upper hand to take out A'ja Wilson for that MVP conversation? Again, I've been going with Fee all year long, but let me be quite honest. the way Asia Wilson has been playing in the second half of the season with this 15-game win streak, with everything that she has done for the Las Vegas Aces moving into the playoffs, I would not be surprised if Asia Wilson gets her fourth MVP. All right? And I'm saying it. I would love to see Fee get it. I would love to see. I love Nafisa Collier's game. She's one of my favorite players in the league. But you just cannot ignore or just step aside and say, oh, well, Fee deserves to get it. I think the only thing that would solidify Fee for getting MVP is just the record that the Minnesota Lynx had, leading her team to the number 1 seed and has been dominant throughout the entire season. So I think that's the one thing that would maybe keep Nafisa Collier at the forefront of MVP in that conversation. But again, the stats don't lie. Asia's averaging more points. She's averaging more rebounds. Again, a 15-game win streak after a team who just didn't seem to find their way. And that was, they haven't lost a game since they got blasted by 53 points by the Minnesota Lynx. So that's another thing we got to pay attention to. But again, those are my MVP conversation winners. Okay, so defensive player of the year. Asia Wilson, Nafisa Collier, they're always going to be in the talks for defensive player of the year. But the one that has moved their name into the defensive player of the year talk this year has been Gabby Williams. Now, for those of y'all who know me, I'm a huge Gabby Williams fan. I've been a huge Gabby Williams fan since she was at Connecticut, when she played for France last year in the Olympics. I think she won the hearts of a lot of people. She definitely got mine. But great player. I love the way she plays defense. She's just a dog defensively. If I always look at the stats, I'm like, how many steals did Gabby Williams have today? So in this game, and for a minute there, it was like 4 in a row. It was like 5 games where she had like 4 steals in a row or something like that. But just knows how to play defense. And also, in my opinion, I think Gabby Williams is the most athletic player in the W. And so with her athleticism, her track background, she really knows how to play defense. She knows how to, force offensive players to where she wants them to go. Very hard player. She has offensive game too. That's the thing. I look at some players who just know how to play their role very well. And I think, you put Gabby Williams kind of like in a role where she becomes the primary target. Gabby Williams is easily, can be a very good MVP candidate in the future if, her offensive role was more heightened or, given more opportunity. But, you have Skylar Diggins, you have Nneka Ogwumike in Seattle. But, again, I love Gabby Williams' game. But I think she is going to be Defensive Player of the Year this year. I really do. And I think she deserves to get it. So that's why I think he's going to win Defensive Player of the Year this year is Gabby Williams. Rookie of the Year, I don't want to say there's no competition because we saw some great performances and great years from, Sonia Citron in Washington, Kiki Erfin in Washington. But Paige Beckers just took the league and lit it on fire. Having a 44-point game this year against the Los Angeles Sparks. Paige averaged 19.1, 3.8 rebounds, and 5.3 assists this year. So I think the Rookie of the Year is definitely going to her. Most improved player, I think, is going to be Veronica Burton in Golden State. She went from averaging 3.1 points last year in Connecticut to 12 points a game, 4.4 rebounds, 6 assists a game. So I think that's a huge jump, going from 3 to 12 in a season, having more of a responsibility as a point guard in Golden State and doing what she has done on the first-year team, her receiving more responsibility after being on a stacked Connecticut team last year. Definitely I believe Veronica Burton will win Most Improved Player of the Year. She's done amazing, alongside Kayla Thornton, their all-star, who, went down with the injury right after the all-star break. But again, Golden State didn't lose a beat. And, that brings me to my next conversation, talking about Coach of the Year. I think Cheryl Reeve is in the conversation just for her leading the Minnesota Lynx to a number 1 seed. But to me, the Coach of the Year is going to be Natalie Nakase. You take a team who it's their first year in the league as a franchise. You lead them to the playoffs, and you have those girls playing. They don't have a major all-star. Like I said, Kayla Thornton is their all-star, but I think, she wasn't, she played in New York the last couple seasons, and so, she's behind Jonquel Jones. She was behind Sabrina Ionescu, Brianna Stewart, still a pivotal piece to that championship team in New York, but got to Golden State and immediate all-star. You know what I'm saying? So you take a team who doesn't necessarily have a team full of all-stars or impact players, if you want to say that. You have Tiffany Hayes, who was 6th Woman of the Year last year, and you take that type of team that you have, again, Veronica Burton, who I believe is going to win Most Improved, and you lead them to a playoff, and they're going to be a problem. They're going to play hard because they have a team full of role players who know their roles, and they play hard. They're scrappy. They're resilient. They're tough. Again, they know their role. They have a great city behind them. So, again, Natalie Nakase, I think she's going to win Coach of the Year, and I think she deserves to win it. So, that's what we're looking at right now with the WNBA playoffs. As these go along, I'm going to cover the games, do my shorts, for the winning and, keeping the highlights going. But I think this is going to be a very interesting playoffs. I think there's a lot of teams who have shown some vulnerability. I think there's some teams who are just extremely strong right now, the Aces being one of those teams, the team that's been showing dominance all year long in the New York Liberty. And so I think it's going to come down to really, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, I think if the Aces win tonight, I believe they will jump to that 2 spot, which I kind of hope they do, because I would love to see the Lynx and the Aces in the finals. And I think that's the best matchup right now, especially, like I said, with the dominance that the Aces have been having recently in the last couple months, and then just the dominance of the Minnesota Lynx all year long. So I'm hoping the Aces win tonight, just so they can get to that 2 spot, so that the Lynx and the Aces don't knock each other out prior to that. But I do think the Minnesota Lynx this year will take home that championship. But they have a tough road to go. Again, the Seattle Storm are not going to lay down. They are a tough matchup for any team they play. It's just, can the Seattle Storm genuinely finish the games that they're close in? The Indiana Fever, another tough team. Like, on nights that they're clicking, they are clicking. And there's nothing you can do to stop them, even with the injuries that they do have. Like I said, missing Caitlin Clark, Sophie Cunningham, Sydney Colson, Ari McDonald. But again, the addition of Odyssey Sims has been huge for the Indiana Fever. So we will see what happens in these playoffs. But, stay tuned, tune in, and you will have all the updates going. But again, if you have not subscribed, go ahead and hit that bell right there. This is your host, Azlan Williams, with the stats, the facts, and all that. This is the W playoffs coming up. I look forward to seeing what y'all think, who you think is going to win, who you think might not show up. What surprises do you have? Do you have any upsets? Let me know what y'all think in the comments. But until next time, peace.